Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. My buddy, Michelle Johnston, is here. I think, Michelle, what did I say? It's January 15th? It's January?
Yep.
Yes. So, and we're taping this on January 8th. I'm usually like 2 months ahead, but we had a little snafu last time, and I want to retape because I love Michelle so much. And we're going to talk about a couple things before we get there. Folks, you'll hear an alarm go off. Don't be alarmed. I'm making bread. And then I don't know why I decided to make bread, but I did. And then I started it this morning when I was like, you're taping a podcast, but the bread will be done. So if you hear a bread, if you hear an alarm, then there's a second of silence. I'm getting my bread. I don't know when I turned into a bread maker. Michelle, how are you today?
Hi, Karen. I'm so good. And last night I went to bed watching vegan, sourdough, gluten-free bread recipes. So this is perfect.
Well, I don't even eat carbs, and I decided to make bread for everyone for Christmas. Screwed it up. I got to call Cochina, the kitchen witch. And I screwed it up about 10 times, and then I got it right. And now it's a problem because everyone wants more bread. So I painted myself into a corner, and now I'm making rosemary and sage bread every other weekend and then delivering it. So I don't know how I got that job. But
amazing.
I know. So you have a great topic for us today that, tell me, we were doing human design last time, and now we're doing survivalist stuff.
Yeah. I have a little bit more to say about human design stuff just with what's going on right now and some really interesting connections. But I just thought it might be neat to talk about some survival stuff, and not just like from a practical, surviving out in the wild or whatever, or these times, but just emotionally or physiologically right now too. And then maybe some human design chat about the chart with the US. I maybe look at Canada's chart and kind of figure out collectively what the energies are there. So lots of stuff to talk about.
Great. And which one would you want to start with?
Let's go with survival for 200, Alex. No, I'm kidding. Let's start there.
Awesome. So, and I'm also drinking the worst smoothie ever. I don't know what has happened to me in January, but I'm slowly falling apart. And are you having this where you have nights where there's zero sleep, and then the next 2 nights there's 15 hours of sleep, and then I'm just in a little spacey. So at the very least, I know we're going to laugh. That's what's going to happen.
We are going to laugh. Oh, that's so interesting. So it's sometimes really hard to know in isolation if your experience is what other people are having. But definitely the sleep has been off. Last night I went to bed late because I was watching YouTube videos about bread for some ridiculous reason. And I got up super early and it all worked. And the night before that, it's like 3-4 in the morning, and so frustrated that I couldn't sleep. So I wanted to just say really quickly too, with the age of Aquarius coming in, right?
Yep.
People have been having really strange symptoms and things going on. And so, for me, what was going on is I had really intense stomach pain for about 10 days around when we ushered the new age in.
Right.
And it was affecting my mental health in a way it's never affected it before. So in human design, I'm a 1-3 profile, which means I just can't help but get fascinated with lots of stuff. And, so that means I'm a holistic nutritionist, I'm a survivalist, I'm all these things. And it was the first time that I'd actually made that brain gut connection. I'd never had my gut affect my brain in such a way. And I was like, wondering, is this because we're in this new energy of this new age? Like, what are you hearing about this? I'm really curious, actually.
I have a nice Marco Polo connection with a whole bunch of psychics and healers. And it's been intense. It's been intense for everyone. I know, here's the thing. I have had a lot of inflammation. And I bought I was going to make some what they call golden milk with turmeric and ginger, but there it sits on my counter. And here I sit inflamed. None of it ever happened, but I tried. I have had weird old injuries come back and just a lot of stuff. And the sleep is off and the mood is off, the whole thing. It's just... You know, the other thing is a friend of mine pointed out that thing called the Schumann resonance. That's the energy of the earth. It's off the charts right now. So if you're at all sensitive, it's almost like mega sensitive. But, you know, isn't it even so this is the 15th and you know, part of what was going on with the QAnon interview, this is supposed to the 20th or the 21st. They had targeted that day. I don't know if anything had changed. Listen to the motorcycle outside. That's what happens. But isn't the 20th and the 21st supposed to be the worst astrological planetary lineup like ever?
Wow. That is bloody fascinating. And what's also fascinating is that I did have a note about the 20th and I don't think it printed, but I'm going to come back and check into that because I did take a look at I've got my ephemeris here. So in ephemeris, they have that in astrology and human design. It just shows like what's transiting when. I will take a look at that real quick. It shouldn't be too much.
And thank you for defining what an ephemeris is.
I know,
I didn't
right?
know. I was like, do I have to ask?
Yeah, no, I'm going to tell you all. It's just it makes me feel smart. Yeah. So, we will definitely look at that because I did make some notes. I might even have it on my laptop next to me. So one of the things that I was wondering about with this Age of Aquarius weird symptoms stuff for me, you know, when I literally, so food didn't give me enjoyment, music didn't give me enjoyment, nothing. Right. And I felt awful inside my body. So I was starting to think like, did this might sound crazy. Well, not your listeners will totally get it, but like was part of me taken offline and was something happening in the background?
I think you're exactly right. I think there is some sort of you know, people on my podcast would say download or there's a reconstruction going on of our bodies. And yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's like it's been, and some of the psychics in the Marco Polo that I talk on, they were saying, one of them, I think it was Tierra, said, I felt like I was taken apart and put back together last night.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's really reaffirming. So I'm thinking a lot of people are, you know, also going through that. If you're hearing that and I'm thinking that, that is so fascinating. That makes me feel better. The other thing on top of that, so I am not somebody who hears her guides and sees stuff, you know, easily. I can see stuff, but it's a lot of work.
Right.
And people might find this really interesting. So I shifted the words, just very recently. Okay. I'm going to back that up even a little bit more. Who was I having okay. I had a session with this woman named Jessica. She's from the Soberish community and she works with an energetic being named Oscar. So Jessica and Oscar, and he's from Polaris, which is the North Star. I find that hilarious.
And I also think Jessica's coming on my podcast. I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God. Jessica and Oscar.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
He's got a whole personality going on. Really incredible work. So, when I was working with them, we did a guide connect. So she took me through a vision quest essentially, where I got to go up and meet my guides. Hey, I've got a pterodactyl named Bart. As one of my guides, I have a First Nations Aboriginal person who I call grandfather. That's what he wants to be called. All of this kind of stuff. And what was my point about talking about Jessica? Oh, so what Oscar said, and this might be helpful for people. I hear people all the time, oh, I'm talking to my guides, or I got this from my guides. I even had a friend text me one time and say, I think one of your guides is a little biased. You might want to do something about that. I'm like, I don't even know who you're talking about. So it's really important, I've discovered through Jessica and Oscar, to ask for guidance from your guides from a higher realm. And I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know there were different types of guides in different realms. So what I started to do recently was I would go into a meditative, calm state, and every day I try to do this activation with myself. And I say, I'd like to connect with my God consciousness guides.
Oh,
and
nice.
all
Okay.
Right? Because I mean, Oscar was like, tell Michelle she's got to connect with her higher guides. That's what she has to say, my higher guides. Because there's a whole bunch of, I thought so too. Because like the visual I got was like the rest are just like sitting in a pub, like swilling beer.
Well, I think when people ask me about their ancestors, if their ancestors are guides, that always makes me cringe. Just because if you've ever seen my family, I would prefer that they are not giving advice.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they mean more evolved ancestors than
I hope so.
I'm writing that down. That's a good joke.
Yeah, write it down. Come back to it. And Ashley Stinson, the energy archaeologist, will always tell people to call in their well ancestors.
Oh, wait a minute. Bread.
Oh, is that the timer?
It's
Perfect.
bread. Hold on. And people, I'm fully aware of how ridiculous a podcast is where you have to stop it in the middle for bread. People are at home like, could you make the bread around the podcast that you don't have to scream bread and have an alarm? All right. So Michelle, where were we? Where were we?
Yeah. So we were just talking about, really trying to call in well ancestors, and Ashley Stinson, energy archaeologist,
who
she's
I
a friend of mine
all the time, all the time.
She's amazing. P.S. You're going to want to connect back with her because her work has hit a 2.0 level.
Okay.
Yeah. It's totally taken it's totally evolved. So yeah, make a note of that.
All right. Writing it
and Ashley will often say to call in your well ancestors. And I was like, it's the first time I'd ever heard that. I always thought like once you died, you were amazing again or something.
I know. I'm with you. I asked this. Go ahead, because I asked the same question of someone. I think I know you're going to ask.
Did
go
you?
Ahead.
Oh yeah, no. It's just like I thought you returned the light, and then you come back and you just decide to do something completely different or whatever. Mm-hmm. But Jessa had someone named David on recently on one of her Patreon episodes, and he talked about just how quickly and instantaneous, like how basically you just choose the 2.0 version of yourself in your next life. That's potentially one possibility. And that might make a lot of sense because many of us feel unhealed on a lot of levels, and if we were healed in the afterlife, it would be kind of boring here, I guess. So I never really thought about guides in this way. What were you going to say?
A couple of things, which is, and I think I can say this now in all craziness of all my things, but first of all, I do feel like this is the fun here. And I know it's not always fun, but it is the movie. We're in the movie. And sometimes there's heartbreak in the movie. No one wants to watch a boring movie. And, I can't remember what I was watching or what I was seeing, but I was watching, I keep trying to get this girl that channels on, and she was channeling someone from the Orion Council, and they were saying how it's fun. You have to get out of the "why is this happening to me" phase, which I totally agree with. In fact, I had a client that may not be coming back because she screamed at me for half an hour that she had done the work and she deserved a husband, and I was like, "Yeah, that's not the work's never done. What do you?" But anyway,
did you like time travel back and talk to me years like that would have been?
You know what? And you know what? You're right, because that was me. There's something, I'll tell you, I never believed anyone when they said when you get to 50, it's great, but it is totally great. And I don't know if your hormones change or what, but you just, it's like you really do become like happy to be alive and let's just do this today. And I don't need everything, I don't know what happens, but yes, if we can get out of that and have fun, and this is a weird example, but like Leonardo DiCaprio is someone that, and I don't know him obviously, but he's one of these people that took having everything and did it right. And he looks like he's having fun. He's with a bazillion women. He's helping the environment. He's doing everything. And, he's not, I can't imagine what that much fame is like. It's like, sometimes I feel bad for John Cusack. Can you imagine being 16 and being every woman's desire? it can't be easy, but it's somebody that's really settled into their life. And hopefully in my next life, I'll do that. But I don't really do mediumship, and my therapist, now it's all about me again. I'm so sorry, Michelle.
It's okay. I'm really, you're fascinating, Karen, to all of us.
Well, I said this I'm like, no one wants to hear you anymore. I said this in my episode. So my therapist hooks these things up to my head, and then she plays this music, and it sets your brain going. I don't know what she does, but I love it. And every time she does it, I get visited, like I get mediumship stuff, and I keep getting visited by Osama bin Laden. And she said, because she's awesome in woo-woo, she was like, that's because you're neutral. And I was like, and by neutral, obviously I'm not for 9/11, but I do think we didn't hear we didn't hear why that happened. It's not freedom isn't free. There was something there that we needed to hear, and we totally ignored it. And and he told me something else weird too. But anyways, but we're not buddies. But I said to someone, how is he still him? Because I thought we go to the light and then we're all a part of it, and we see the damage we've done, and we've seen everything. And the answer sort of came up that's a fragment. So that's the fragment of him that is either lingering and trying to get his message out, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the way, it was all evil, folks. I'm not saying anything wasn't evil. That's not how you get your point across. But we did miss the point.
Right.
But you don't go murder a million Iraqis either. We got to get things under control. But it was a fragment. That's what the answer was.
That is so fascinating to me, because I've had people say, oh, your grandmother's coming through in this session and she's young and she's dancing. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. I guess that's her fragment. She gets to choose to experience that part of her. Yeah. It's so fascinating. All this stuff that goes on in the afterlife. So what's been happening with me is I've had times in my life where I do get a message. It's more just like a thought that comes to me, and it's special. Like I know it's not me. In fact, when I was single, I was 36 when I met my husband. I had only ever been in a relationship for a year and a half, and I had 3 of those. And so not a great track record with commitment. And I was having a conversation with God. That's all I knew at the time. And I was angry, but I was meditative. I was slow. My feet were sinking into the earth. And I said, you know what? I'm not taking myself out of the game, but you put me where I need to be found, because I'm not looking anymore. Awesome. And this was so awesome. And then I walked back into, my community from, this beautiful walk I was having, and I stopped in front of a store, and this thought comes to me, this is where he'll find you. And it was really like, I'd never had that before. And the old me would have been like, oh my God, what am I going to wear?
Right.
Right. Very ungrounded, very outside of myself, but I was inside of myself. And I was just like, oh, okay. I ended up, it was a running shop. I ended up, not because this man was going to find me there, but I ended up like wanting to run, actually. And he did find me there. That's where my husband found me. And he was late, damn it. Okay. So I showed up to class 1, and it was ladies and married guys. And then the 3rd class, he walked in late with his buddy, and everybody knew him. And I was like, kind of pissed off. Runners, I don't know if you run, Karen, with a group, they're very cliquey. And I was super pissed off, because I was like, why is everybody saying hi to this guy? He hasn't even been showing up to classes, And at the end, we were stretching. He looked over at me, and a spark flew out of his eye, is what I saw. And a wedding band showed up on his hand. And I was like, oh, this guy likes me. And it took him 3 months to pursue me, because that's how shut down I was around dating. That's how scared I was to make a mistake. But that was one of the most powerful times that I feel like I had communication with my guides. So I get frustrated because it's not normal for me. My point in all of this is, lately, I'm doing my breathing, I'm doing my meditative practice at the beginning of the day. And I used to say, I'd like to connect to the highest divine realm of conscious creation. That's usually who I'm wanting to connect with. But then I decided to take Jessica and Oscar's advice and everyone else's advice. So I say now, please connect me with my God consciousness guides. And then all of a sudden I feel a warmth enter in through my head into every cell of my body. And I actually feel the center of my forehead get activated. And that has just happened within the last like recently, just in the last week or two.
Wow. Say that one more time. You say, I want to connect with my God consciousness.
Yeah. So I want to connect with my guides. Okay. So I want to connect with my God consciousness guides.
God consciousness guides. All right. I might need that today.
Try that out. And what I feel is there's a complete merging between that level of, I see it like as a band of consciousness that exists. Like if we had a stratified layer of like the pub swilling guys down at the bottom, and the God consciousness is pure and it rises to the top. I see that energy actually come and merge with my being here. So then I assume as I go throughout my day, I have full access to that. As somebody who's not, doesn't think of herself as an intuitive, I feel I have access to that level of consciousness more readily. And I hope that that might be helpful for others who are struggling to connect more meaningfully with their guides. And you're not getting you're not getting the voices, you're not getting the visions, but I'd love people to try that and see how it works for them, because it's been working amazingly for me.
You know, it's so interesting. Two things about that. First of all, you know what? Hang on. Let's come back on the other side. We're not even close to our topic, but that's what happens when
Perfect.
I talk.
I know.
All right, hang on. We'll be right back, folks. Hey, everybody. Let me tell you about my friend Elaine Hathaway. She's not just an incredible tarot reader. I know because I had a reading. She also does curse breaking, healing and prosperity magic, and the removal of dark entities. I had a client that was constantly being bothered by a dark entity. I sent her to Elaine, and man, she cleared that situation up right away. It was so impressive. She does so many things. Please check out her website at therisingmoon.com. There you can click on our YouTube channel and take a look at her, because you're going to feel like curse breaking and the removal of dark entities. This is a little old woman sitting in the corner of the room with a hood and a cape. No, she is the loveliest person. She does so many things other than tarot. Please check out her website at therisingmoon.com. You can also hear her October 23rd on this show at therisingmoon.com. All your paranormal and metaphysical needs will be met there. Alrighty, everyone, we're back. We're not even close. If you need survival tips, I don't know what you're going to do, because anytime I start talking to Michelle, we get off on all these tangents. But I'm going to plug an episode, and some of you may turn away, and I'm going to tell you don't. January 29th, 2 weeks from here, I'm doing an episode with Diet, and she channeled a fallen angel. I don't even want to use the word demon. I don't know why. But it was phenomenal. It was not about like what you think. It was about what their presence in the universe means and what they do. And what's interesting, you talking about that God consciousness, I asked this entity if we had personal demons, and he said each person doesn't have a personal, like each one has a demon, which is what they believe about jinn. Everyone has a jinn. But he said it's that, like, say you're an alcoholic and you're on an alcoholic frequency. That is the frequency of that particular demon. So all the alcoholics are on that frequency, which sounds like the exact opposite of what you just said about God consciousness. Now you're on that frequency.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, that just rings so true. That's amazing. What a gift. I can't wait to listen to that episode.
I have to stop thinking about it because I'm so obsessed with it. I'm worried about drawing the lower levels back, which I think the lower levels are the ones that we see in horror movies and the chaos. But anyways, it's January 29th, folks. It's amazing.
Yeah. I just have to say, sorry, real quick, Karen, because I can't help myself. I am obsessed with seeing that kind of stuff too. I've had to literally have things removed from me, consciousnesses removed, whatever, that have been at the lower level. I can actually see it in other people. It shows up in their eyes and their face for me. It's something, I call it the slither. It's a very slithery energy. And if I could do anything, if I had a wish, I do a lot of helping people. I just see it in others, and I would love to be protected and connected enough to be able to pull that shit out and give people their lives back, put them back on the frequency that they are meant to be on, because the freedom I've experienced from breaking free from that kind of lower energy has been life-changing. Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Well, I'll tell you exactly is I did a podcast with Elaine Hathaway, who's a good friend of mine. And actually, I'm trying to get her and Amy Spicer on the podcast together because Amy found something. well, she told it on a podcast. Okay, so Amy had a client like that, and she talked to me, and I hooked her up with Elaine, and we all like. I'm literally trying to transcribe what Elaine did, and I need to get Elaine on this podcast because at the time that we did the podcast, I was talking to her as more of a tarot reader. But Elaine is who you want to watch her YouTube channel, or more to come, folks. More to come on all of this. Like if I get,
and she's been amazing. Like every time you've had her on twice, the prediction show, and then another. I love, totally captivating.
Yes, but so I don't even. We'll wait till she's on till I'm going to gush all over her. But she, her in the episode, and that's why I have to step back because I'm like, Karen, you're getting a little too obsessed with the dark stuff, so don't call it in. But I cannot tell you this episode with Diet literally leaves Easter eggs where the next day you wake up and you go, you know what? I know what that means and I know what I need to fix. And
amazing.
It was like the wisdom is on so many levels of this being. And then the funniest moment at the end, I'll let y'all listen to it. The other half of this, the dating thing is interesting because as everybody knows that's listening to this, I completely shifted my energy towards dating. And even my therapist was like, by the third session, she was like, wow, you, in the beginning, I thought you were kind of afraid to date. It seemed like you were afraid. And she's like, and now you're juggling 3 men that you didn't think could get in the first place.
Oh my God.
It's all a way of thinking. Yeah. So anyways, how are we going to survive this?
We're going to survive it, but I'm just going to, before we survive it, and we are going to get there, people, Karen, I want to tell you guys and everybody else who knows a little bit about their human design or, wants to get interested in it. So Karen, your self-identity center is what we would call defined. I don't have definition. You do. That means you are you in no matter what community we plop you into. You will just be you.
I'll just be bossy.
And you just be bossy and hilarious, and making bread. I'm very malleable. I'm very chameleon-like, I guess. I don't love that. That's actually not very empowering, but I can adapt to the energy that I'm in. So when you're dating and you have a defined identity center like you do, Karen, this is why human design is so freaking amazing, because we're all told, do life this way, right? And that works for whoever's telling you that. But human design is so customized. So in dating, we would say, oh, let the men do all the work, like the old school way, like let them do all the work, blah, 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 blah. That happens to work for me. But for you, actually, what'll be helpful for you, and I just wanted to tell you this for a while, and other people listening might get benefit too, is if you're defined in your identity center, you're actually going through the process of energetically feeling if the person you're with matches your vibe, matches who you are, rather than like, they're building a bridge to you, Karen, because you have a defined identity center. You're not trying to build a bridge to them. So me having an open center, all I'm here to do is be a mirror to people who are defined in that area. And then that defined person goes, yeah, they match my energy. I'll take them in. So when you're deciding upon who feels good and all that kind of stuff, just really feel into that vibration of who you are. And do they match? Do they mirror back what feels good to you in that self-identity reflection? So I've been dying to tell you that.
Oh, great. Okay. I think you know what? It is so interesting how, well, thank you for that. I actually have to think on that. I didn't even have a joke. I was so engrossed in what you were saying.
Great. Well, we'll talk more about it later. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
Okay. So let's get on to surviving.
Yes.
So one thing that I've been really interested in since I was a small girl, has had to do with, it starts out as, wilderness survival skills. I'm talking like 6 or 7 years old. And my dad was a big canoe guy. He would go on 3-week trips with his buddy into the wilderness. Actually, I was reading his camping journal, and they found a drowning victim like a week and a half into the bush, right into the waters, and they had to flag a plane down. I was like, Dad, I found out because he clipped the article from the paper, and so my dad was super into surviving, and I grew up. Oh my God, I grew up being fed things like bulrush roots. And like he would get crayfish from the lake, and like, so I'm sure that's normal for a lot of people. It wasn't like a normal city thing.
Right. My dad used to, I'm vegan now, but like I have to say that, but he used to, and this is why he used to deer. We used to eat deer. He used to catch pheasant. He used to fish. So I know what you're talking about.
Right. It's when I'd be little and I'd be at our cottage with nothing to do, no TV. And I would just read his survival books. Like my dad goes, "Oh yeah, I can teach you how to catch a sparrow," like crazy stuff. And so I just got infused and interested in how would I survive? So I would go on bike rides, get lost, on trails, and sit there and think, okay, if I was lost, how would I survive the night? Like, that's how weird I am.
I love it. I love it.
About 12 years ago, I met up with another girl a woman who had the same kind of childhood. And we co-founded, a group that still exists today. It's called the Toronto Survivalism Meetup Group. And we decided to pull in a bunch of experts to teach us different prepping and survival skills and things like that. So I thought it would be cool to kind of talk about a couple of those things. And then I also want to talk a little bit about fight or flight, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, great. So does it make more sense for me to talk about fight or flight given that we're so close to January 6th events and then shift into the other?
Yes. Yes. Let's do that.
Okay.
That actually feels like a good, that feels good right now.
Great. Okay. So January 6th happened, right? We all know what happened at the Capitol. As a Canadian, I was very shocked to cry. I cried all day, all night, and most of the next day. Yeah. Really interesting tears. But definitely went into fight or flight mode, right? So a lot of us are in that, and a lot of us have been in that since the pandemic started. So what's going on with you physiologically, everyone, when you're feeling not quite yourself and you know it's due to the circumstances, is your body initially releases adrenaline, right? Just like if someone cuts you off on the highway, you feel that cool burn go through you, and you get really quick with your reflexes. Like you can swerve, you can make better decisions really quickly. That's adrenaline. It's trying to give you superhuman powers so that you can think and act really lightning fast. That will stay in your system for 1 to 2 days.
Wow.
And right. So if you think about it, I mean, they'll give the caveman model, but like if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, all of that adrenaline is needed to get you to run faster than you've ever run, to get your muscles activated, to get oxygen to every cell so that you can get away, hopefully, or fight this thing. In the fight with the tiger or in the running away, you will discharge those stress hormones. That is how it works. Something happens, you get stressfully activated with hormones, you fight it, you run away, you use up what's in the tank, and you're back to normal within, a day or two. But in modern times, we don't really let the steam off. We sit in our head a lot, right?
Yeah, I think I read somewhere how they talked about this, how a deer that gets afraid runs, and then you notice when they've escaped their animal, they're eating like nothing happened. Which is exactly. I was once on an airplane that went. We went through some of that clear air turbulence where the plane dropped 500 feet, and then everyone was screaming. The guy next to me grabbed my hand and started screaming, "We're dying, we're dying." And then as soon as we landed, he went right back to eating like the deer, Oh
my God.
So anyway, so yes.
He squeezed everything out in your hand. So it's like that. And then when we don't discharge and dispel, and I'm going to tell you guys ways that you can do this. When you don't discharge or dispel those hormones and you still sit in that fear state or whatever state has been caused, cortisol then kicks in. And cortisol is what is your long-term stress hormone. It's the thing that's going to keep you alive, even though you're going through it, and that is just terrible shit because it contributes to an increase in blood sugar, belly fat, all kinds of sleep problems, right?
Yeah,
so
my friends that have adrenal burnout have all these problems with this.
Oh, Exactly. So part of the issue is we haven't had a healthy way to discharge hormones. So if you're feeling particularly amped up with the events going on in the world around us right now, that's totally normal. And what I can tell you is exercise is very helpful. I usually go to mindfulness first, but if you're so amped up, there's no way in hell you can sit there and just breathe, just connect to your God consciousness guides. Like, it's not going to happen. So what I recommend people do, if you can't even exercise, like I'm not a vigorous exerciser, stretch, get on the floor if you can. If you can't sit on the couch, put one leg up, knee not bent, knee straight, and do a little hamstring stretch your bicep, move your body, move your musculature, because that will actually help to wring out and discharge the stress hormones.
Wow. So yoga is really the thing.
Amazing. Yoga is freaking amazing. I started doing boot camp. I haven't done boot camp ever, which is embarrassing, but whatever. But I do it virtually. So thank God.
So embarrassing, Michelle. I don't know if I'm going to air this. It's so embarrassing.
Well, holistic nutritionist who doesn't do boot camps, I don't know. That's the old paradigm, to be shamed about that. But
exactly.
So I started doing boot camps because I'm like, I gotta move. I know my body needs to discharge these hormones, right? So if you can't exercise or move at a moderate to vigorous intensity, then start low and slow, because you will find simply just getting into the act of moving your body, moving your musculature, getting it, actually using your body to create different shapes. So how can you do that? Can you bring your hands above your head and create a circle where your fingers touch above you?
Interesting.
Right?
Well, that's also like the Wonder Woman or the superhero. If you stand like a superhero for 5 minutes, it builds confidence.
Oh my God, it so does. Yeah, because, it's like reverse engineering the state that you want to embody. Yeah, cactus arms. If you do yoga, you could just stand and do cactus arms, which is your biceps are parallel to the floor, your fingertips are pointing to the ceiling, and just bring your elbows back to your back, like squeeze your shoulder blades, and then bring your hands forward so your palms touch. Any movement at all, just get out of your head and get into your body and move your body. If you are dying on the floor, you're so stressed and exhausted, what can you do that's small that will help to discharge the cortisol and slowly bring you back into balance? And so that's the first thing that I want to tell people. Yeah, don't go nuts if you don't have it in the tank, but start slow. You will get energy. So number 2, mindfulness is incredibly helpful. It's not only helpful, well, they've done studies that basically since the 70s that show that it's incredibly helpful for anxiety and depression and pain management.
Okay. And when you say mindfulness, can you define that?
Definitely. So mindfulness is the practice of paying attention in the present moment, non-judgmentally, and doing this all on purpose. So specifically focusing in the moment. So how can you do that? Okay, here's a tip. Look at something in front of you. For me, I have a brown pen, right? Some brown pen. So I pick it up and I just look at the pen and I take a breath in through my nose and out through my nose. And I silently say pen. And then I might turn it around and I see some silver writing. So I take a breath in. It says Papermate. And I take a breath out and I might say silently Papermate. And then I might turn it around and it's got a silver clasp. Breath in, breath out, silver clasp. So that's the 3x3 method. So just take a moment, take 3 breaths, and with each breath, just mentally identify something that you see. It sounds simple, but it just brings you right into the present moment on purpose.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, that I totally get. That sounds perfect. That's a thing to do in nature. That's what I try to do when I'm in line waiting to board a plane, if that ever happens again.
And funny, I did not mean to make this connection, but when I was having that angry conversation about men with God, that's the state that I was in. It was very present, very in the moment, very feeling what was going on. Another thing that's maybe easier for people, if you're sitting down in a chair, you want to uncross your legs, put both feet on the ground. I don't care if you have shoes on or not. And I want you to just feel the space between your feet and the floor. And when you just feel that space, can you become aware of sensations? What do you feel? What do you notice? And that's mindfulness.
You mean like the pulse in my feet?
Yeah. Do you feel a pulse?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel tingles. Yeah. And just feeling the sensation of your feet connecting to the surface below it. That is all you need to do.
Excellent.
And you could breathe gently. So mindfulness is great. Those are really simple techniques. Anything else that I can say about mindfulness? Really just give yourself if thoughts come, just welcome them. Hey, welcome, don't resist them. Don't create tension. Just they're there. Oh my God, this is so funny. I read a book on meditation by a yogi. I don't know who he is. And he said, if I had a nickel for every time somebody said they thought meditation was sitting there silently with no movement and no thought, he goes, I'd be rich. But also, that's not meditation. That's a sign that you have a medical problem. You're medically not okay. So the point is not to push, is not to be perfectly still if it's not comfortable for you. It's not to try to get thoughts out of your head. You could just go, thought. I feel a thought. I see a thought. I hear a thought. And then come back to your breath, come back to feeling your feet. This is a way. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I also want to say, when I was trying to do breathing and mindfulness, it didn't help. So if you're feeling particularly stressed out, and we need to get you back into a good state, go ahead and support yourself in a lying down position. Maybe your knees are bent. Maybe they're not. Your head might be supported. Get something with a little bit of weight. So do you have a pillow or a blanket you could fold up that's a little bit dense and place it on your heart and just lay there and allow that pressure to just infiltrate your heart center space. It's very, very, right? It's like wrapping yourself, like being cocooned or whatever. And when the pandemic first hit, I couldn't breathe properly. So I would actually do a similar thing, just sitting up, and I would just hold my chest, right hand on my heart, left hand over that. And I would just apply pressure. So if you're a little bit freaked out right now, if you're a little bit cortisol is going high, you can just apply this little pressure in your center of your chest, and nice and breath, and just comfort yourself. So those are some really basic survival skills that you can do anytime things get a little bit hectic for you.
Great. And you know what? That is perfect. Let's take a break and we'll come back and we'll teach survival tactics that will re-stress. That's the thing. I feel like there's too many apps out there that keep you calm. I'm going to make an app that re-stresses you so that you can get up and do things. And I just yell things like, you left the stove on. You left the stove on. All right, everybody, hold on a second. Hey, everybody. Paranormal Karen here, doing an ad for myself because I can't remember when I tape my podcast to say these things. First of all, if you need a holiday gift, you can get a gift certificate for a 30 or 60 minute tarot reading on my website, karenrontowski.com. Also, I'm very, very happy. My new CD called Psychic Stand Up Valentine's Edition is now available everywhere. You can get it on Amazon Music. You can get it on Apple iTunes. You can get it on Spotify, and it's even got a free YouTube channel where you can listen to it there. But it's the show I want to do on the road. It's 45 minutes of me improvising and reading tarot in front of a live audience. It is fun. It is funny. It is real tarot, real funny. All right, everybody. Back to the show. All right, folks. Now, survival tips, and it is very interesting. Well, go ahead, because I bet some of these we can use. I have my Berkey. I know that's sort of a survival tip. If you don't have a Berkey, folks, it makes the best water ever. But go ahead, tell us what we do. Let's say the power goes out. The power is out.
So, let's actually go a little bit before that. So I want to just say the definition of an emergency, right, is it's by very definition, it's unplanned. Okay. So as prepared as you can be for any number of circumstances happening, the better you are. So the power goes out. It's okay. You're prepared. One thing I want to talk about is water. Great that you brought the Berkey up. Couldn't you, not to be crass, but couldn't you literally pee in the Berkey and it would filter out pure water?
I'm pretty sure it's that It's that intense. In fact, you have to start taking minerals because it takes everything out of the water.
Yeah.
But yes, it's
okay.
It's contaminated water, and also they sell a rubber bottle with like a Berkey straw. So it is for it's I think
amazing.
It gets out everything. Yes.
Everything. Yeah. So you can get a Life straw. Jessa has some. Life straws are very small, right? They pack up really easy. Have one in your car, whatever. You should literally be able. I'm not totally certified as an expert, so do your research. But you should be able to take this straw out and drink from water that may not be the cleanest and be fine. Water is the number one thing that you want to be watching for. So what I do, and I used to live in a low-rise building, and if we had the power go out or anything like that, I would immediately plug the tub and start filling my bathtub. So I want you to know that you want to take care of your water needs first. So fill your bathtub up with water if you don't have reserves of bottled water, because like who has that anymore? Right. You know what I mean? Right. Fill up what you can as reservoirs if you're at home, because you can live like a few days without food. You cannot live without water, and you can ration that for yourself. So you can use it however you need to. One thing that I was taught by one of my teachers in this area was even the back, and this is so gross, but if you're looking to survive and you are stuck, the back of your toilet has that tank.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty clean. So you've got actually access to should be fairly clean water back there if you were in a pinch and you were really stuck. So if you're in a building, you do want to fill your water as soon as possible, because if you're on a higher level and the power goes out, the ability to pump water up to you after a while just diminishes because there's no electricity to do that, to help that system work. So take care of yourself, fill what you can with water. If you're hiking and you happen to live in an area that grows grapevines, I'm in Ontario, just outside of Toronto. We have lots of grapevines in the wilderness areas. Grapevines are hollow, and they actually are hollow because they transport water. So if you were stuck, like I was a few years ago, lost in the woods in upstate New York at my dad's, these things are going through my mind. So you could essentially try to break open a grapevine if you know what they look like, and you could get water out of that. Okay. It's good to know. The other thing to do if you were ever lost or stuck or without water, you could dig a hole. You would need some kind of container, like a tin can or any kind of vessel that you could find. So you dig a hole, you put the container in, you make sure there's a big opening at the top of it. And if you had a tarp or a piece of plastic that was big enough to fit over the hole, and poke your finger down in the middle to create like a little bit of a valley.
Okay.
What happens is if you leave that there, it takes a while to do this, but the moisture from the air will get trapped by that plastic, and it will start to drip down on that plastic into your vessel. So that's one thing so that's one way that you could get water. It's a little bit of work, but we're talking about life-saving circumstances.
Right.
So cuckoo banana stuff with water. What you can also do is you can buy water rations. So this is something that the Army, the Navy SEALs, all those guys, all those organizations, whatever they are, have. You can buy them in 125 ml packs, which is like a quarter of a cup, and you can have some in your car. They're very heat and cold resistant. You could pack them away. Water spoils, you guys. Water can go bad if you can't just hold on to bottles of water forever. There will be a point of contamination where that plastic actually gets into the water. So
now I have a question about that, because okay. I threw away a case of water. I used to give water to the homeless when I was on my bike. I just fill my bike and hand it to them. And then it got so hot in the garage, and I thought, no, right? Does the plastic go into the water? Okay, and that's really
sure does.
Okay.
Yeah, it sure is. Having said that, Karen, having some water is better than having no water, right? So that's the other thing too. My nutrition friend was like, "Oh yeah, I got a hamburger from McDonald's on the way home last night," and we all gasped. And he was like, if I didn't get food, it was going to be dangerous. Some food is better than no food. Right. Okay. Some water is better than no water. So it is okay. Like, don't not drink it. But if you want to really make sure you're okay, let's talk about food really quickly. Canned food, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of us have been conditioned away from using canned food. I saw on the news today that canned fish, I know you don't eat animal products, but sorry, canned like sardines, all that kind of stuff is coming back only because people have been buying like canned beans, canned corn, canned asparagus, like whatever. I actually, as a holistic nutritionist, used to say, oh no, don't buy canned stuff. If you're going to buy canned goods, I do recommend it. Actually, try to find the lowest sodium that you can. That's really the key. And try to work that canned food into your regular rotation. The last thing you want to do is have like canned food that expired in 2007 when you're hungry and you might not be able to get to the stores, or, in Canada, we like have an ice storm or something and everything goes down. If you're going to buy canned food, awesome, low sodium, as few ingredients that are not that as few additives as possible, but you want to make sure to like check the expiry date often. So bring that stuff. So when I go to Costco and I buy oat milk, I always take the oat milk that's in the cupboard out. I put the new stuff in the back, and then I put what I had, the old stuff, in the front. So I'm always pulling from what needs to get eaten first. Yeah.
This is a weird question. Do you know why there's so much sodium in stuff? Like I don't have much canned stuff in my house, but I do like canned soup, and I'm always like, there's no winning there. You're going to have a puffy face.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really just a preservative. Salt is an amazing preservative.
Okay. And also even in miso, which yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I could just eat miso by the spoonful. I was just like obsessed with it. But it's a preservative. So hot tip for everybody who likes making guacamole. If you want guacamole that stays green for 4 or 5 days, you guys, scoop the flesh out, put it in a really salty bowl of water, 1/4 cup of salt, 2 cups of water, let it sit there for 5 minutes, pull it out, make your guacamole. It'll be green all week because the salt will have preserved the flesh of the avocado.
Ah, okay, great.
Yeah. So that's why it's in there. But the biggest thing that I can say, is just rotate those canned items, have them clean as you can find. Really, really important. So here in Canada, I don't know what the updated recommendations are, but for a long time, it's been like, would you be ready for 72 hours if the power went out? So you have to ask yourselves those questions, everyone. Like, how prepared would you be? Right? An emergency is unplanned. So if you needed access to food and water, do you have that already going on for you?
Right. I think I have food.
Yep.
I should have water. Even that Berkey is pretty much full all the time.
Perfect.
Yeah, but it's cold. I need to burn.
Yeah.
I need to burn my shit.
Yeah.
Is there one? Do you have any heat tips?
Heat. Okay. Yeah, I do actually. So,
or I didn't take you off track. Go ahead. Where you?
No. This is all. No. This is perfect. So, have your barbecue. So if you've got a gas stove, good for you. You've already been through blackouts, I'm sure, and been able to cook. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So if you can switch to gas, I think it's a great idea, a future investment. If you can't, do you have access to a barbecue? Do you always have at least an extra tank full, right? Because you could boil water on it. Also have a cast iron pan because you can use that on barbecue. If you live in a more remote area, you could use it over a fire, right, to cook anything that you wanted, that kind of stuff. If you live in a building that does not allow you to have a barbecue, you can just go, they've got little tanks, and you could get a camping stove, right? Like just get a camping stove and have some propane, store them out on your balcony if you're so lucky to have a balcony, or something like that, never inside. But yeah, you always want to have a way to cook your food. On that note, there are some really amazing flint matches you can get. Just go on, I hate to promote friggin' Amazon again, but it's like, but $6 you can go on, probably cheaper in the US, to be honest, about $3. You can go in and get this match kit. It's a little cylinder that's watertight, and you unscrew the lid, and it's got a flint stick, and you just strike it and it will get you a flame. So if you had to build your own fire for cooking food, you could. Incredible. It's so small, it could be on a keychain.
To make my bread, I make it in a Dutch oven, which,
oh my God.
Right.
Love.
And so that is why do I own that? What does it do?
I
Besides
just
make
got a
bread.
Dutch oven in December. Can't believe it's like everybody should have one. So it's cast iron, which just means it can withstand a lot of heat. If you were in an emergency situation, you could use that and cook over a fire with it. They say in the instructions, don't have a flame so high that it like licks this over the side of the Dutch oven, like from the bottom over to the side. I think that's more of a over time that will degrade it. But if you're in an emergency situation and you need a vessel to cook in, a Dutch oven is incredible. Oh my God.
Okay. And I wonder because is it something about evening out the temperature? Like, I don't know why it was the easiest way to make bread. They said, get a Dutch oven and you cook the bread for 40 minutes with the lid on, and then you take the lid off. And then when I thought oven, I thought, so you can bake with it over a fire? Is that the idea? Maybe.
I guess
excited.
I'm so new. I did not get to that point in the YouTube video last night before bed. I don't know. Yeah, it does distribute. It holds heat really well. That's the other thing. Oh my God. Here's a fun tip about heat. Now this is like a little bit maybe wilderness survival stuff, but all very practical. My brain just snaps to this stuff really quickly in an emergency. So you can heat rocks up. So if you're cold, right? You're stranded, you're cold, your heat's not there. If you can get to start a fire, you want to get like a metamorphic rock, not a sedimentary rock. Sedimentary rock's like limestone, you're right. You can see the stratification in it. It's more like sand that's been compacted over. That will shatter. So you don't want that. You want a really solid rock. I say metamorphic, but you guys have to look up what that means for yourselves.
Okay.
And then we don't want to waste time on that. And then you would wrap it in a cotton towel, nothing synthetic. Wrap it after it's been sitting so put it by the fire, maybe at the edge of the fire, rotate it, get it nice and hot. Maybe it's right in the pit, but not on the fire, but next to it. Then take a terry cloth towel, something cotton. You can lift it out, wrap that hot rock with you, and bring it into wherever you're sleeping, right? Keep it next to you. It'll keep you warm without burning you. I think previous generations didn't they used to like heat rocks up and put them in pans, right? And heat beds up?
They may have, it's funny. This is a really interesting tidbit that I read that a lot of people, I don't think they know if it's true. If it's true, then then probably, if it's not true, probably there's a reason why people didn't know it. But women did not, the most common death of women was not birth in the age. It was fire, the dresses catching on fire.
Jesus.
Because
my God.
Yes, because the fireplace throwing out embers or getting too close.
Right.
But it's fun. This is not necessarily a survival tip because your microwave wouldn't be working. But every night, unless you have a solar microwave, I put a bag of rice, uncooked rice, in in like a pillowcase, sealed it up and microwave it, and then I put it in the bottom of the bed. It heats up the whole bed.
Yes. Oh my God. I do the same thing. I totally do the same thing.
Like doing that with a rock, but don't kick up against the rock.
Yeah, don't do that. A couple more things here. Money, I think money is eventually going away, but right now it's always a good idea to have a little stash of money in smaller bills, right? Because if electricity goes down and you need to get stuff, whatever, have some ones, have some fives, have some tens. Don't get like $100 bills. That would be really difficult.
100, right?
Nobody is going to break that 100 for you. And it's just going to, so have small bills on hand. Also, have some, I would say invest in some solar panels, get a big one. What's a big one? I don't know, 2.5 by 3, 2.5 by 2 feet, big enough that you could put it outside and it could power some of your electronics if the power went down, and get a smaller one. Yes. Oh my God. And you're in California, so that's great. But also smaller ones too, that could pack up maybe the size of like an iPad or something like this, something that's easy to Yes.
Okay, I think I did see this on TV. It was pretty expensive though, but you get a small solar panel. I already like this. And you can actually just store it in the closet till you need it. And then where does it put the energy into? Does it put it into a little box that you plug into?
Yeah. You'll have to look and see what the receptacles are all about, but they've got all kinds of inputs for you, right? So I don't know if they've updated into USB or whatever. My uncle and aunt go camping every year and they're like, look at our solar panel. It's just, it powers everything we need. And, it's genius. So get a bigger one. So go and you guys can take a look and see, get a bigger one, I'm nuts. Like, because I want to be over prepared, and get a smaller one. In case you have to go out, right? You take your phone with you. You've got this thing. If your phone dies, you're good, right? If you have to pick up and pack fast, this thing will, get one that can go into your backpack. Having said that, they also have solar paneled radios. I think those are really important.
I had one of those. I had a crank radio before, and I loved it.
Right. So get a crank one, get a solar powered radio. You will honestly, you will not regret that purchase. It will be your source to information if ever, 2003, right? Power grid went down in the whole Eastern Seaboard in North America. And, if you wanted to be tuned in, you could totally get whatever information you needed at that time. So I think those are really important. I say always have at least a half a tank of gas in your car, because again, I learned that in the 2003 power outage up here. You couldn't get gas. You couldn't, and you don't want to be waiting in line to try to find one. So you always want to be ready to go if you have to go, right? So just, some of you guys like to ride that empty line a little bit too much. So try to get into the habit of leaving at least half a tank in your car. Have enough food for your dog. Like, have a plan for your dogs, your cats, your animals. Yeah. If you had to pack up and go, like when March happened and I was like, oh my God, are we going to have food? Like, shit, we've got this dog and I love him and I got to take care of 3 of us. So have a surplus, a little bit extra for your dog, right? If your dog doesn't eat canned food, maybe just have some in case you had to put stuff into a backpack and go, right? Make sure you're topped up on your medications. If you had to evacuate, say there was anything, a flood, a fire, whatever, have photocopies of deeds, ownerships, anything, birth certificates, passports, all that stuff. Have a photocopy of that and have it in a backpack at your front door, in your closet, your go bag, right? Because you never want to have to question, I'm the freaking owner of this place. Like, just have your important documents copied and ready with you. Have meds topped up. I did talk about that. The other thing that I want to say to you guys is just don't underestimate people's behavior. Okay. I dated a guy. Oh my God. Anyway, he would have got us killed, I'm sure. He wanted to use we would just make all the pasta in the world. He was going to use all our water, like in the first 15 minutes, and do all these crazy things. If shit goes down, right? This is just my survival brain working. Don't underestimate people's behavior. If they're hungry, if they're in need, right? Be careful, be generous and kind, but don't give so much off the bat that you're going to be screwed. Help where you can, but don't put your own mask on first.
Yes. And you know what else? 2 things. And then that was, Michelle, that was great. The other thing if you live in LA, I didn't know this. My neighbor told me this the other day, although I have carpet, is you want a pair of shoes under your bed in case some glass breaks. You got to walk out or you got to run out. Yeah. The other thing is you want your pet healthy because I believe your pet will also be your alarm system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's about courage all the time.
The last thing I'm going to say, because I know you probably, this is a lot of me going on about stuff, but if there were a nuclear event, I think I talked about this on the...
the pills. Yes. Tell us about those pills.
Yeah. So here, when I'm talking about a nuclear event, I can literally it could be there's an earthquake and something at the power plant gets messed up. You know what I mean? Like I don't actually think it's war. That's not at all how it feels to me, but there could be an accident anytime at one of these places. So if you have the pills, that's great. What you want to watch for is, a couple of things. Read the label, get educated ahead of time. You only need 1 or 2 pills for a couple of days, but you do the research yourself. The first thing you want to do is if there is an event, you want to get inside as soon as possible because the contamination of the air is dangerous to you. You want to strip out of your clothes if you were outside, have a shower immediately, and get somewhere where there's not a lot of exposure to the outside, wherever you are in your place. And you want to just kind of, if you're not sure what's going on, you can kind of get a sense by the wind pattern. So the jet stream and whatever the wind is doing that day, that will tell you how fast or how slow maybe that toxic radiation might get to you. But just know that stuff in advance. All of these survival things are really about, as you've said so many times, plan for anything could happen and then celebrate if it doesn't, right?
Right. That's my podcast. That's my whole podcast.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Excellent. Wow. You know what? So much good stuff in there. And I'm getting that solar panel now.
Awesome.
Michelle, thank you so much for coming back on.
Oh my God. My pleasure, Karen.
And tell everyone where they can find you.
Okay. You can find me 2 places. My website is workingwellbydesign.com. And I'm also on Instagram, workingwellbydesign.
And just phenomenal stuff with the human design, which we didn't talk that much about.
Oh yeah. Right.
Make a human design appointment with her. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. And thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Everybody have a great day.